Not a percentage of God is love. Not a seasonal element to God is love. But God is ontologically love. God is exhaustively love. God is completely love. God is in every comprehensive way love. Now, we understand that God is the one who we have not seen. We have not necessarily walked with him in heaven. We have not necessarily talked with him on a very real human level. So how do we get this downloaded into our lives where we look at Jesus? Look what Hebrews 1:3 says. The Son radiates God's own glory and expresses, look at this, the very character of God. I believe in today's time that the Christian is more guilty of being like Antichrist than like Christ. Because when we see how Jesus, which is now God manifest, which now is the express image of God, that if you want to see how God operates, look how Jesus operated in the Gospels. That's why when we read the Gospels, we ought to see God all over it. So when he finds a woman who was caught in the very act of adultery, he don't kill her. Did she deserve it? Absolutely. According to Moses' law, she should have been stoned publicly. But instead, God in Jesus shows us how God reacts when we too are caught guilty. Amen, somebody. Hey! When the leprous men are there and they're trying to figure out how they can be healed, and Jesus says, go show yourself to the priest. My God, from glory, here's the beauty of God. Although you did something to become leprous, or there's a generational curse in your family, Jesus is able to turn stuff around. All you got to do is follow his word. That's the character of God. Character of God. But you know who God judges in Jesus Christ? You know who he does judge? When he comes into the temple and he sees the Pharisees and the Sadducees clogging up the line of worship, he goes in and overthrows the tables and tells them to get the money changers out the temple because they were occupying the space the Gentiles were supposed to use to hear the Torah and the preaching of the priest. Jesus says, get them folk out of there. Had nothing to do with money in the church. It had to do with a specific allotment of space that was to be used for the Gentile who was not saved to hear the message of the Old Testament and say, I want to be circumcised and come under the Abrahamic covenant. That's who Jesus does judge. It's the folk who think they know God but act opposite of God. Let me keep on going.